Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. Pat, my friend, how are you? I've barely missed you.
I barely missed you too, Jane, you ignorant slut. No, that's from back in the day, SNL, for any youngsters thinking I'm being misogynist.
Most of these people were born.
How you doing? I am doing very well. I'm very excited, not about Kamala, because goddamn, that's depressing as hell. But Biden is out. I mean, we got to hang our hat on the happy we can find.
Yeah, and I mean, if this news alert truly happens and he gives some big exit speech, it will put all of the conspiracy theories that he's already passed to bed. So let's see how well they do that.
Yeah, let's see the hologram.
Let's see the hologram in the pre-recording.
And just so you know, we've got it ready to go, so you don't have to flip back and forth. We'll go live as soon as he comes on. We don't need to hear the pre-hype, but it's ready to go.
It's ready to go, and you do have volume. You have audio, right?
Yeah. I just muted it so I don't have to listen to this crap I'd rather listen to you than CNN.
Yeah, of course. I know.
Much wiser.
Gives us a chance to say hi to everybody and read some of the comments before the actual show starts, when my brain sort of has a hard time functioning. So hi, Zaina. We're so excited to see you. Great having you on Sunday. We loved it. Everybody loved you and all of your insight into Appalachia. Here we go.
I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this: we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promise to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country, is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me,
Lila,
I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence, our planet from climate crisis that is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, secure, and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine, doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans, and we got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today, we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors. More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. Today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first Black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, The American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I'd like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country.
No, God, please, no, no!
To you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. You just have to keep faith, keep the faith. And remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
President Biden saying the idea of America lies in your hands.
Wow. What do you think, folks?
I particularly liked that we're not at war anymore under Biden. It's just that we're in several proxy wars and all our money's going to war and not healthcare. But
nothing going to healthcare. We beat Big Pharma because of the 10 drugs for older people. We beat COVID and no more political violence.
We saved abortion. We saved abortion by losing Roe.
We're gonna and I love that history is in our hands.
I have to remove the bullshit alert because you're talking. I don't want it.
Somebody's gonna clip that and right away. Yeah. Well, he looked better than I thought he would, actually.
Yeah, I thought he'd be a little more decrepit, but they had like a whole week to prop him up and Weekend at Bernie's him and all that stuff. But
I mean, remember that list of all the things they're checking him every day? They're doing his blood pressure, they're checking his levels, like all the stuff that none of us could ever hope to have.
Yeah.
And then to see everybody still just maskless. It's amazing. Amazing.
It's not surprising, but I mean, it was a terrible speech. I mean, I will say, Kamala gave the best speech of her life the other day. It was pretty good and it was timely. And I hate to look, she's got a shot. I mean, she really does. This is a race now. She could win this thing. I don't want Trump to win either, but I don't want Kamala to win. And if she does win, I want her to win with everybody understanding who she is and where she is within the party and what she stands for. Because if we go back into this, like if people start thinking she's Obama, that means they'll be asleep for 2 years. And
they already will be. I mean, you see all the people who are like big anti-genocide people And now all of a sudden they're like, well, I mean, I know we're going to get into all this, but like, what about, female reproductive rights? I'm like, well, what about them? Like, I mean, I don't even understand what they're talking about. We've lost them. What's her plan? Like, what is the plan? Yes, she reads from other people's written speeches for her very well. And Biden sometimes does okay like that also. It will be interesting to see her have an actual interview or press conference, because we know that she doesn't like to prepare and she's horrible on her feet. So we will see. But there's a lot of coconut pill.
I have a lot to say on Kamala, but we'll save that till we get to that part. But I give him a B for that. I mean, you could tell he was about to lose his mind and go drift off to some happy place, and somehow he got back on board there. He dialed it in, and that's the best you could hope for him. So, like, the press is going to give him an A for this.
Yeah. Why'd he even bother? Why'd he even bother withdrawing? Bring him back.
Right.
Tonight is the night Joe Biden really became president.
He became. If he were to die, I would actually give it to him.
Or bomb another country.
I mean, if he dies of COVID, I'm not rooting for the president to die. I am rooting for the president to die. But if he did COVID, it should be COVID, because that would be justice served.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't believe, I'm not religious. I don't believe in God. I believe in the power of Obama and the elites, and I definitely believe in COVID. And both of them help Biden get into office, and both of them helped take him right back out. So karma, I guess.
Oh, and I forgot, but my balloon drop from last week is not gone completely.
Okay, let's see it. There.
Biden, it is what it is.
Bring in the fun. All right.
We get to cheers.
Yeah. Well, first, we want to cheers to our members, our pup heroes and cheerers. Thank you. We adore you guys. We are so grateful. Really having fun being able to do 2 shows a week. So thank you all for signing up and becoming members. Cheers. And we're going to get to the second level of the cheers.
Yeah, let's do the cheers.
All right. So we got the Paris Olympics just to set it up. Paris Olympics happening right now. And during the yesterday, the opening ceremony rehearsal did not go as planned after dancers raised their fists to protest unequal treatment instead of dancing. Dancers have now filed a strike notice, and they're not the only Paris workers on the verge of striking. A union representing workers at Paris's 2 major airports has also filed strike motion for July 26th, that's in 2 days, which is the date of the opening ceremony of the 2024 Olympic Games. The force is, I got to put darn it, the reader's on already. The Force Ouvrière, the union, represents 11.5% of workers at the Orly Airport and Roissy-Charles de Gaulle airports. So they are getting their motion for a 1-day strike, but that day is the entire opening day of the Paris Olympics. These vital workers want increased bonus pay for working through the turbulent beginning of the Olympics. Here is them showing their power right here. It's silent, but they are just standing there at what was supposed to be a dance rehearsal. It's very difficult to see. It's the only footage that exists, with their hands in the air, refusing to dance, withholding their labor. The power that we are. So cheers to them. Cheers.
I'm officially withholding my labor from this show until Palestine is free. Lila, you got to do all the work.
I got to do all of it. All right. So cheers to them. Let's get the wheel going, right?
Yeah, let's put up that wheel. Why not?
Let's see what we got.
Yeah, baby.
What? Normally we land on a shot right away, but I do have my drink. Let's Let's see some
Fair
puppets.
enough.
That was very cute. All I can think of when that music piped up is I'm gonna have to edit it out later.
I don't think so, because I think I screwed up and left in the automated music that I add when there's no sound. So I think that was our free shit.
Oh, okay. Really?
I think. We'll see.
Let's hope. That was very cute. Hey, I just wanted to make a little bit of a program note because we can't really control what happens in the chat. We don't always see everything that's happening in the chat. We certainly aren't just like 100% endorsing things, but like I also feel like unless someone is really being brutal or just spamming, I feel, Pat and I have only, I think, banned one person apart from Saul that one time. I'm so sorry. I'm always going to feel terrible about that. So I'm sorry if somebody says something that makes you uncomfortable, and likely most of us don't agree with it, but I guess that's all I have to say, because I'm not sure how else to proceed.
Right. So we've had two instances in the chat. Like somebody last show said that somebody in the chat was
denying genocide.
Denying genocide.
Yeah.
And that they couldn't watch our show anymore because somebody in the chat was denying genocide, which is kind of odd. And to me, like, generally, unless somebody's extremely offensive, like, have a discussion with them or not. And if they're just spamming, we'll block them, but we can't manage the chat. Like, it's hard to run the show and look over at the chat. I mean, I try to read it when I can.
Yeah.
But like, for us to jump in and take sides on stuff in the chat, it's like, it would be distracting to the whole show if we did that.
Yeah. So anyway. I guess that's all. I just didn't want anybody to, I don't know if things got wildly uncomfortable or what, but we obviously,
I didn't even see whatever they were upset about last week. I missed it entirely. 100%.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all we want to say about that, but I think now it's time to hash it out, right?
Fair enough.
All right. That gave me an opportunity to turn the volume off of Josh's computer. He had a meeting in here earlier. Yeah. And I keep hearing a ding as he gets, text.
It gave me a chance to get a beer, which is rare. It's rare, but I'm going to try a beer. Let's see what beer is like.
Wait, you're going to drink a beer?
Let's try beer.
That's so crazy. I can't imagine. All right. So let's see what we got all laid out. We're starting off with,
hey, we just saw this guy.
And maybe after tonight, we will not have to see him anymore.
We've got a few months left, but as soon as this election is over, he's going to die. if he makes it to the election. So
Yeah.
there's that. But worst of the week.
All right. Worst of the week is Joseph. What is his name? Robino Biden? Is that his?
I don't even know.
Isn't
Somebody?
that terrible?
JRB. I feel like that sounds kind of cool. We would know if it was JRB, right? Somebody?
JRB? Robino. Isn't that? It feels like a Jeff Sessions middle name.
Oh,
Robinette.
Kimmy backs you up.
Kimmy.
Robinette.
It's Robinette. Right. Thank you. And the runs. Thanks, you guys. Oh, look, Audrey. Okay, everybody. See, this is the other problem. Just so you guys know what happens is we try to put things up and I click on something. Sometimes it gets somebody who posts right after that I haven't seen. So anyway, yes, Joseph Robinette Biden, who has been the worst of the week for, decades now, actually, on many levels, but it just felt too easy to give it to him before. But now that he's on his way out,
and it might be our last chance. I mean, he might be gone by Sunday.
It's a lot of exertion. You're supposed to rest radically when you have COVID, and
well, it's one of those things,
third bout, I think.
A lot of old people, their wife will die and then they die like 2 days later. And so his dreams just died. So
look at that.
He's got nothing to live for now, is what I'm thinking. So
I mean,
and COVID.
It is funny. I mean, and here's another worst of the week is Rachel Maddow. We've never given it to, but do you want to just show like her response to him withdrawing from his candidacy was next level, and then we can kind of pick it apart because it was pretty egregious. This is a woman I used to have a ton of respect for, Rachel Maddow.
I mean, this is history writ large. We'll all remember where we were and what we were doing at this moment. And just thinking about the president right now, what a man, what a patriot. What an act of selfless devotion to your country. And he has been a phenomenal president. He brought us back from COVID. He gave us the best recovery from COVID of any major nation on earth at a time when the world has economically been struggling in the wake of COVID. The Biden economy is literally the envy of the world. He ended the presidency of Donald Trump at one disastrous term. And he did it while being decent and civil and honorable and normal and occasionally boring at a time when boring was absolutely what we needed. And I just, his career of decades in public service as a senator and as a very successful vice president and as a phenomenally successful president, there is no single thing that he has done in that entire career that is a greater or more consequential act of service and sacrifice to this country than what he has done today. And knowing him a little bit, knowing his personality, having spoken to him, a number of times in my life, both in sort of official and unofficial capacities, I cannot see anywhere in his personality where this decision today was possible. This is the opposite of something that is natural or easy for him. He is just not built to do something like this because his superpower is being underestimated. And that's why he's been so resolute in resisting all these calls for him to drop out. But him making this decision today is to give the country a chance, a reasonable chance at not putting Donald Trump back in the White House, not putting a president back in the White House who refused to leave the last time and summoned an angry mob to try to overthrow the government rather than go. This is Joe Biden saying, apparently it's not me, the one that gives us the best chance to do that. It's got to be somebody else, and so I will step aside. I'm just blown away by the sacrifice and the patriotism that this moment embodies.
Wow, there's a whole lot there. The sacrifice. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, she almost got one part of it right, though.
Which
she basically said the best thing he ever did in his career was resign. That's paraphrasing, but she's like, that was the most
Generous.
selfless act of his career,
Yeah.
but it's literally the best thing he's done in his career.
You know, that's like when you stop beating your wife and she thanks you. Like, okay,
Yes.
like we didn't need you
Yes.
in the first place and the damage you've done for 5 decades, but thanks for after a year
Right.
of
And-
everybody begging you to leave. Yeah.
And does anyone know, was Maddow one of the diehard, like Biden shouldn't drop out? Do you know where she stood on that? You know, because for her to go from that to this, you know, all
Yeah.
these people flipped overnight, and they're like, you know, they went from like Biden needs to stay in, he's going to definitely stay in, you need to stop talking that he's not going to stay in, to
And you're racist.
oh, he's out because he's a
Yes.
hero, and Kamala is the one, and we all love Kamala. We all agree Kamala's it. She's
Yeah.
100% it. So it was the smartest thing because Kamala's so fucking great.
And I mean, many of them were saying it was racist and sexist to try to force Biden out. Like, what are you even talking about? Racist and sexist. And one account even compared it to basically rape. Like, no means no. He says he's not going. Stop pressuring him. No means no is how that one ended.
Truly
Yeah. And now that
amazing.
and you know, democracy is going to die. I think that's what John Pavlovich said. If the Democratic Party will be over if he resigns. I mean, I guess it really shows how little, you know, faith they have in Kamala. Honestly, that's the first bit. You know, before that, now that the fundraising,
Yeah, now
they all love her. Yeah,
so good.
it's really striking. Yeah. So yeah, he's the Biden economy. They're going to keep touting that, and COVID. He solved COVID. Those are the two things they keep talking about, which is just, I mean, tone deaf and inaccurate, and basically just invisibilizing millions and millions of people.
But I will say, I appreciate that they're talking about COVID in this way, because I think a lot of people see the bullshit. Like, they're like, hey, he just got COVID and disappeared for a week. And so here's this guy, like it hits some people are starting to register some of this stuff, you know, so at least COVID, he's talking about COVID on his way out, or the press is, at least, because he had COVID. So there's some mention of COVID, but obviously it's incredibly disgusting to turn on NPR, which I always do. And they're touting one of the things he did, you know, he'll always be remembered for ending COVID.
I mean, everybody says that. And they assigned the 800,000 deaths that happened under him to it was all MAGA, and it was all because of Trump. So they will say Trump killed over 1 million people still today. Like, I mean, it is just brazen, the propaganda. And yes, there were a lot of tears. I see people in the comments. We had Van Jones. I mean, Van Jones, why did Obama get rid of him? He said one thing about was it about the economy? Was it about cops? I can't even remember. And he was out. About HUD. He said one thing, like, he used to be considered somebody sort of progressive-ish on the left, booted. And then
and for a while, he actually was one of the rare voices on CNN that would rep leftist issues. So like, he had some appeal to the left because he was espousing leftist stuff, but he will always let the left down, and always he's such a simp for whatever the establishment shit is.
I mean, literally
never believe him.
Crying on CNN.
Yeah, let's show it, because it's embarrassing.
It's just so embarrassing.
Even people who are pushing for this to happen, it's kind of like when your grandpa, you got to take the keys, and everybody, you got to take his keys, you got to take his keys, you got to, and he's fighting, and everybody's so frustrated, and then you finally get the keys back, and then
it's
you
like
just
shooting
cry.
Your horse.
Because this is somebody that you love. This is somebody that you care about. This is somebody who was there for you. This is somebody, you wouldn't be here without him. And you have to take something from him. Now, this is not, look, politics is politics. But this is a human moment for one of the great humans in America. This is a huge moment for him, for his family.
Genocide.
For all of us who love him, for all of us who wanted him to get across the finish line. But if you're a young person watching this, this is leadership. This is patriotism. This is what it means to put the country first and put the party first and put the cause first. When your arm gets tired, you let somebody else finish pitching the game. That's what Joe Biden has done, and he's done that for all of us. And so I just want to say, I don't know who's going to be the VP, the non-VP. I don't know anything about politics. I just know that I love this man. I care about this man. It was painful every day to sit up here and talk about him like he's just some problem for the party. Wait till we get to the convention. You're going to see people crying, standing, screaming, cheering. He may not get a chance to talk for 10 minutes. We finally get a chance to put our arm around this guy. He did the right thing for this country. He did the right thing for this party. All of us are going to be in this situation someday, and I hope that we take a moment to honor this man and to love this man. I love Joe Biden. I appreciate what he's done, and a lot of people are heartbroken today. Even if it's the right thing, it's still just horrible.
I can't imagine.
Look,
yeah, being like Rashida Tlaib, any Palestinian, Arab American, Muslim American, anybody with a heart or a brain, and saying what a noble, patriotic man he is. Like I don't even understand it.
Yeah, and back to NPR. NPR, not only did he end COVID, he also pushed back on Israel. Like they were putting that like a positive, like he pushed back on Israel. Like they're already trying to frame his future as like, well, he did what he could to stop the genocide that everyone knows is a fucking genocide.
Yeah.
You know, and even Van Jones is critical of the genocide. So how can you be that guy and come on and cry about this shit? Like, get the fuck out of here. It's so angering.
It really is. I'm trying to understand honestly where it comes from. Like, is it just money? Is he like?
It's the club. These guys are in the club. So they really feel like politics is secondary, which he said, to their friendship with these people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all just access and careerism and the fun parties. Anyway, I don't know how anybody could be sad about it. He never should have gotten close to the presidency after 1987, and Van Jones and all of his colleagues are responsible for everything that's happened since then. So
his legacy will be inside COVID, dropping out of 3 races, the most ever
and not earning a single delegate until South Carolina
and probably losing to Trump, but that's not written yet, but probably.
Yeah.
I mean, probably losing the office to Trump.
Yeah. So. All right. So, before everybody sort of like went on the whole Kamala, journey or started that big coconut pill excitement about her, there were quite a few op-eds and revelations that at least some people in journalism were angry about, possibly only because, like Wall Street Journal is right wing, right? So like maybe they're just on the side of Trump and want to just remind everybody. But I happen to agree that the story of Biden's declining abilities is not a tragedy, but a cover-up. The protagonist is not only Biden, but also the Democratic Party, not the left, but the libs. And their tragic flaw is an unbridled lust to hold on to power at any cost, which is 100% right. I mean, there was,
They're making me agree with Vance, JD Vance. Who's, I mean, granted, look, it's ridiculous to call for him to leave now because there's 3 months left and you can finish this stuff. But like, he's right. The whole Democratic Party covered this shit up forever, and the media did. The media did.
Yeah.
He's right. The worst person in the world is right.
The worst. Is JD Vance the worst person in the world? Just not the worst of the week.
Second of the week.
He had in 2021, this was revealed in this latest Wall Street Journal. This is not the opinion. This is a straight article, whatever that means in this right-wing paper, but where he was trying to persuade a group of congressional Democrats to pass a $1 trillion infrastructure bill when Nancy Pelosi, then House Speaker, took the microphone. In 30 minutes of remarks on Capitol Hill, Biden had spoken disjointedly and failed to make a concrete ask of lawmakers, according to Democrats in the room. After he left, a visibly frustrated Pelosi told the group she would articulate what Biden had been trying to say, one lawmaker said. It was the first time I remember people pretty jarred by what they had seen, recalled Representative and former presidential candidate Dean Phillips. That was October 2021. That month was the last time Biden met with the House Democratic Caucus on the Hill. 2021.
And I mean, look, 4 years, we just had, that was what we just listened to with Biden was the fourth time he's addressed the nation, you know, from the Oval Office. And the third was because it was just a couple days ago because Trump, well, last week because Trump got shot. So basically twice he addressed the nation. FDR, you know, the best FDR gave his fireside chats and like, but this is FDR, the guy that spoke to us twice, had the least press conferences in history, avoided everybody. Everybody knew he had fucking brain damage.
Of course he did. And just think like what, you know, that thing when the people, you know, well, actually political explainers on Twitter will do when you're like, why didn't he, you know, went from $16 trillion Green New Deal with Bernie to Joe Manchin saying no more than 4, to Biden, the great negotiator, most powerful man in the world, saying 2, going down to 1 trillion, and then stripping out half of the funding, which was all the social programs, to make it a $500 billion Build Back Better plan. So he could have, if he cared at all, sat in that Oval Office and once a week, twice a week, every night said, hey, folks, we need Medicare for all in the middle of a plague. Hey,
exactly.
We have cities burning down, and the ones that aren't burning down are being flooded.
Right.
We have schools that have lead pipes and, you know, towns, most of the town, like he could do that every day.
Exactly.
Like get the outside inside strategy if you actually want to do any of the things you want to do, or you do what he did do and just bypass Congress and bypass laws so that you can continue building Trump's wall, bypass 26 environmental laws, went around Congress to keep sending funding and arms to Israel for a genocide. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, but you use your platform. The bully pulpit is what you have.
Yes.
You get in front of people. First off, all these things are popular with the public already, but all you need to do before you enact some or push some kind of policy change or legislation is get out there and try to convince more people why this is right, so you can counter the right-wing narrative or, you know, corporate or whatever narrative is going to be spun about it. Like, convince people. That's your job. Convince people about legislation. That's why you're the leader, but you don't have ultimate power. You're supposed to lead. Lead. You lead. You get the agitation. You use that agitation, of which there's plenty. And again, like, none of this matters. It's not that he didn't know how, or he's feckless or a coward. I know we all know this, but like, all a choice.
It's all a choice. He didn't care at all. He says we're going to get health care to more people. How? What's he going to do? All the power that he said he's so upset that the Supreme Court just handed to the leader of the free world, who's in the executive office, he has right now. Like, he has it right now. Do all the things.
Dude, go out swinging. You got 3 to 4 months left of your presidency, plus or minus a few months of your life. Fucking do it. But he won't, because this is the people that matter to him most don't want him to.
Which also, you know, goes back to the Rachel Maddow thing of her saying, listen, it's the ultimate sacrifice. He's doing what he thinks it takes so that Trump won't win. No, that's a lie. The one time that his numbers were high was when he did the expanded child tax credit. And then he ended all of that, and he ended all the protections. There was a lot of things he could have done that way, because he's old, but that's not the biggest problem with him.
No, and that child tax credit in itself allegedly cut child poverty in half. It didn't actually, because it was supposed to include the minimum wage increase,
Right.
which he was against, even though he ran on it.
Yep.
So they pulled that out of it. It didn't cut child poverty in half. And then they just let it fucking end.
Yep.
They just let it
forward
fucking
at
end.
all. Yep.
They let all the COVID protections end, which, you know, just to how it impacts my town, just on one issue, is there's no more water being delivered to the homeless camps. Water is not going to, you know, we're talking about major camps. There's like 8 in
110
town.
degrees. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy. And that's, water is gone now for homeless people there.
And paid sick leave and free testing, treating, vaccinations, all gone. So the frontline workers, the people who live in the most cramped spaces, the people who you interact with all the time, have the least access to the things that will keep them healthy and that will keep the rest of us healthy. And sorry, the reason I put that up there that Zaina put was about the you know, the most impressive or the biggest climate change bill ever. It's the only one ever. So it's the smallest one ever, actually. It is the smallest climate change bill ever. That's how we should all talk about it. Smallest ever.
Yeah, amen. It's the smallest bill ever. And under Biden, we became the biggest producers of oil in the world. Under Biden, the biggest producers in the world.
And by funding,
hello, Strike.
by funding both the proxy war in Ukraine and the genocide in Gaza, that is destroying the environment also. Like everything he has done has made our world worse. And yeah, that's right. He kicked millions of people off unemployment, lifted the eviction bans. Like,
wait a minute.
What?
I think I understand how this all happened.
What's going on?
I couldn't resist.
That's good. I'm a perfect straight man for you. I'm like railing against the, you know, tides and yeah.
I'll just be the color person. In fact, I'll just stop reading all the news and just be like the push the buttons and the comedy shit.
That's what makes it fun. That's what makes us
mentally. That's where I'm at right now. I'm as tapped out as most of you guys. Like it's so hard to follow this stuff.
It's just
hope.
Just awful. Okay, I just want to put up one or two more things about the worst of the week, and then God, we've spent an hour on him already, and let's go. But anyway, one of the reasons he quit because mob boss Nancy Pelosi tells him, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way. You got 3 weeks, and then the hard way is coming." One of the things they did though is they showed him internal polling for swing states. They had not conducted or shown him polling from the swing states for, I think it's in here for more than 2 months. More than 2 months. They had not done surveys in key states. So finger.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Biden isn't the dumb public who just thinks, how's the popular vote going? He's been in politics forever. He knows it's all about the swing states, the 5 to 7, which is now, there are now like 12 to 13 states in play because Biden is doing so awful. But he knows the swing states are all that matters. And they didn't show him the shit that shows that the swing states are the only thing that matters, which also speaks to his own cognitive dissonance, brain malfunction, that he doesn't ask, how am I doing in the swing states? Because he knows that's all that matters.
And he didn't want to hear it. And also, I have to say, there was an expose. Sorry, I'm reading about the trees dying everywhere, and it's so sad. And Adria, I want to read your article. Yeah, the swings. Oh, dang it. See, that's why I can't. I love looking at the comments, and then I miss out. What did you just say, Pat? Say it again, because it sparked something. Looking at the swing states.
Somebody remind me. I have no idea.
Darn it.
Well, no, right. that they're hiding the information and that the only thing that matters, and it was a choice to ignore the swing states.
Oh, 538. That's right. They had him up because they had him up in general
the craziest of polls.
Yeah. Like cherry picking just the data that would keep him up I feel like it was like a morning Joe. Like they were basically
Right.
creating their polls just
They were
for
hype
Biden.
men for
And the
Biden.
second he dropped out,
They
they showed him
said
12 points down or something. Like
yes,
showed the
and they
truth.
showed
Yeah.
him getting a bump from the debate. That's how bullshit 538 was, which is probably why Nate Silver, who's not part of 538 anymore, or has been removed at least on the
He's
the
got, yeah, I think
managerial
he's done.
level.
He's got his own deal. I don't know
Yeah,
why,
but that
but
was
yeah.
his. That 538 was
Yeah.
his.
Yeah.
But he's now soured. He's soured on Biden, and then of course Blue MAGA turned on him like so
Yeah.
hard instantly overnight. Like he went from being Einstein of politics to like, oh, you just are a red pill,
Right.
Nazi. Like,
Yeah, they really just did not want to hear the truth, which has been honestly my experience in real life trying to have any discussion with somebody is you show them facts and they just get mad. They just like block you and they're done. It's yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, good,
Bye.
goodbye, cousin, uncle, aunt.
Okay.
My world.
Are we spinning? Is that where we are?
Yeah, let's spin the wheel. We
All
should.
right.
We should.
I feel everybody getting
Yeah, baby.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, I'm
There's
gonna
the
get
Lila
my shot. I know. My streak was gone. All right, and I'm gonna
Yeah, baby.
Oh, look at that. We got another puppet. All right, I'm pouring my shot. Cheers to everybody.
Who doesn't love otters? Here we go. Where are all these masked people? Where
Yeah.
is this?
We need some happy moments with those otters. Very, very cute. All right, so we're not out of the weeds yet because we are moving right on to the woman who said she was about to earn the trust and the
My
votes
God. Yeah.
of everybody.
Well, so the
yeah, okay.
whole discussion on TV
Yeah.
was trying not to coronate Kamala while coronating Kamala. So
Right.
even the people who knew they're going to be coronating Kamala were like, oh no, she's got to earn the votes. And she comes out and she says, don't worry, I'm going to earn the votes. I'm going to earn them.
She's
And
a fast
released
worker. It just didn't
statement.
take very long.
So reminder, she's never gotten a vote for presidential anything, not the primaries. I mean, she got some primary votes, don't get me wrong, but in her own state in California, she dropped out because she was running 5th in her own state, and it would have been embarrassing. 5th in her own state. So she got no actual votes.
People who know her.
People who know her best were like, I like the racist white guy, Buttigieg,
Who she's now
who else
considering
was even
picking.
running? Tom Delaney. Most people didn't know
Michael
who Tom
Bennett.
Delaney was. And they're like, I like Tom Delaney before I like her,
Wait, who's Tom?
Yeah.
No, who's the billionaire guy?
Tom Sires.
Yeah, Steyer. Mike Bloomberg.
I
They
met
were all
him.
preferable to her. All of them. Amazing. Yeah. I realized that we forgot the AOC stuff, which was just kind of not forgot, but we didn't do the
Oh, that can all-
before. We were living in
Yeah.
some unknowns, right? When people were freaking out about Biden. One of the best / most vomit-inducing takes was from Aaron Sorkin writing in the New York Times how I would script this moment for Biden and the Democrats. So this is before he withdrew. This was, wait, the 21st. That was Sunday, right? Wait, 24, 23. Yeah, this was Sunday. So at 6 a.m., this is released that basically the Democratic Party should pick a Republican. And who better than Mitt Romney? So there is some smooth liberal brain for you, the West Wing.
Yeah.
Brain.
And here's the thing. Mitt Romney is left of today's Democrats. I hate to break it to you, but he's responsible for Obamacare that all the Democrats think is the greatest thing on fucking earth. That's
Heritage Foundation. It's the Heritage Foundation. Romney Care. Yeah. So that was Mr. Aaron Sorkin, West Wing. I know we used to talk about it. It's off the air now, or off the podcast now. They went through all of it. But Dave Anthony and Josh Olson, who are both Hollywood screenwriters, did this great podcast where they just like went through one episode every week, and they'd have a guest on to talk about all of the ridiculous, just liberal brainworms that were in there. And then also talked about how the Obama guys talk about wanting to get into politics because of the West Wing. Like, that is such an explainer of how these people's minds work.
Yes. Well, celebrity, they just care about, it's not
policy.
PR. It's PR. It's how do you
give a good
Instagram your way to the presidency.
Exactly. Then, okay, so Obama said, and I know we talked about it, but he wants an open convention, which, you know, of course, I would think he's going to endorse her, but this is all such an embarrassment for his legacy, I would think anyway. And he is, I think, smart politically and strategically. There's better buy-in. Like, before, we all know that she's a horrible candidate. Once she opens her mouth where it's not scripted, I think the wheels are going to come off the bus. But she's had a good few days, right? But I think he was concerned and said we should have an open convention. So there's that. Then there was the AOC Bernie wing, who were really against Biden stepping down.
Like, the most embarrassing part of at some point having supported the squad and the left is that they are now simping hard. They simped for Biden harder than Joe Manchin did, Nancy Pelosi, Schumer, all of them. They were the biggest simps that existed on the planet for Joe Biden, is this progressive wing, which you should use that opportunity to say, we can get a better candidate. He should step out for the good of the country. Yeah. You know, whatever.
I spoke too soon a year ago, and I'm rescinding my endorsement because he's and arming a genocide. We haven't talked about,
But then if you don't do it, if your strategy is like fawn on this guy so people can hear what I say next, you know, because don't gloat on the dying person kind of philosophy.
Right.
Like if that's your move,
then when it falls,
you don't come out and endorse him. You have an opportunity to have a convention fight and actually get a progressive in here right now, right fucking now. If these people had any stones whatsoever, you would be demanding a fight for the candidacy.
Well, listen, Pat, AOC has a couple words for you. There was somebody else who kind of chastised her for her shitty thinking abilities. And he wrote, "Cannot believe how badly Bernie and AOC fucked this up. Never want to hear about their political instincts again." AOC, who I would think has better things to do than answer some random person on Twitter, responds, maybe you should think
Trump of the left
harder. Like, are you kidding me? Maybe you should think harder. Explain it to us, Queen. What did you do? Where's our $15 minimum wage, which was the whole reason you didn't force the vote, right? She said, we're not going to force the vote on Nancy Pelosi because we've got other strategies. There's things happening you don't understand in back rooms. That was 4 years ago.
That's exactly what came to my mind too. Like, this is the bullshit you gaslight your own supporters on. And now you're like attacking a supporter. This is just a regular Joe. He's not a political pundit even. He has nothing to do with politics.
And
he's
she
a
quote
tweeted him.
Like, he's an actual left, like he's a person on the left who probably supported her, you know, originally in 2018.
Think harder.
Think harder. So what we should do.
She didn't quote tweet him. Sorry.
She did, but like responded. Like, you're going through, is she looking up her mentions? Like, I don't even think, sorry, I have to look at it again, but I don't even think there's not, like, he didn't even like, you know, do the I'm old, so I don't know what that's called, but he didn't tag her into it. He just like said AOC. She had to have searched for that, or somebody had to, like, what are you doing? So we don't have a best of the week, but this woman should get best of the week on Twitter this week for her. I don't think being a snarky bitch is the right move when your entire base just watched you endorse a genocidal dementia patient and your supposed friends in Congress watched you make excuses for murdering her people. What a little cunt. I was playing 3D chess with millions of people's lives, animal. Saying nothing would have been the best course. Pretending to be inept or actually being stupid is a bizarre gambit. Either way, no integrity. Done with this dumbass grifter. So I'm just giving up my own little cheers for Fish on the Run 2. Czarina, you made my day that day. That was the way to handle the gaslighting.
Okay, so I do not know who she is. Never saw her before. But in the past week, she's had like 10 takes like that I fucking love. So
all right. I got it. I got to get.
She needs to follow me. If you're not watching,
in.
Of course, but come on, follow. God damn it.
Follow us. I'm going to follow you. Yeah, no, that was beautiful. All right. I'm going to pour myself another glass while Pat, you keep leading us through the Kamala shit.
Are we going
we're on right now?
The Kamala stuff. What do we got on?
A lot, because now we're 2024. How are we doing with the fundraising? How are we doing with the polls? Where are we going? What really matters? Where is she on Israel? Her vice presidents? What are we doing?
Here's the thing, man. Let's talk about Blue MAGA in my comments, because this is all that matters, is how things are going for me. Look, I got so many comments like this. Yeah. Like, this was just one I wanted to bring up. I sincerely hope you get put in a camp if Trump wins.
Yep.
Like, these are the people reaching out to leftists that think Kamala sucks, but you should not be reacting this way. And first up, the coconut and palm tree thing is racist as fuck. Now, it's not if you own it. If Kamala owns it and she says this, you know, she's a black woman. If she wants to own that as like not racist, I'm not going to argue with that. But she said, don't use it. It's racist.
Oh, wait. Kamala did?
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't know that. I thought it was all because of her. I mean, I know the sort of racist part of it, but I thought that it was because
the coconut tree. Yes.
Yeah. She was quoting her grandmother's kind of funny expression and people liked it. But okay, I understand. It's like, I get what you're saying.
But if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Her.
Yeah, it's like
look,
Oreo
she's gonna attack to the right. She's not trying to appeal to progressive leftists.
Right.
She's trying to appeal to, hey, we got to pick up some independence on the right.
Yeah.
And so the right is going to run with this racist trope. Why do you want to be?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's PR. It's bad PR, or maybe it's good PR. You lean into it. I don't know. But either way.
What you don't do is say to somebody, I hope you get put in a camp. You know, and it's like all the Zionists who will call me a not real Jew and hope that Hamas rapes me.
Right.
Like, okay. Solidarity, folks. Like, really hope you all thrive.
Yeah, while you're on solidarity, it's amazing how many former diehard Palestine supporters now have the coconut fucking palm tree thing in their logo and are like,
block people who are calling them out on it.
You know, you can't. Look, if Kamala is a smidge better on Palestine, it's for PR purposes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I still think it's good for Palestine that Biden's out and someone new is in.
Yeah.
Politically, they have to swing a little bit more left because that's where the world is, right? Yeah. So
I
think it's a good thing ultimately.
We're about to
pretending that that she's pro Palestine is just fucking absurd. So it
is a total joke, because even her liaison to Israel is coming out and saying, nope, there's not going to be any sea change.
Right.
We are reaffirming what the Biden administration has said about our support for Israel.
But even if she is a smidge better, right, how do you go to suddenly campaign for someone still supporting this fucking war, still funding this, still being pro-Israel?
Because my reproductive rights are on the line. Fuck off.
She was VP when they all disappeared.
Yeah, fuck off. And that's what they're all saying. They're all saying that now. What? And they could have said the same thing about what changed for them, honestly. I guess that's the thing that I don't really understand. Why were they so willing to possibly lose to Trump by saying all the things about Biden and calling him out on genocide appropriately? Yeah. I fully endorsed all of that. And now all of these huge accounts are like, it's time.
I think a big part of it with these huge accounts is pivoting to the public. They're not standing on principles. They're pivoting to public support. So it will be easier for them online to now support her. Right. Because now you have to go against the identity politics situation, which is a black woman, which is I want to see a black woman president. I want to see a woman president. I want to see all that. But you don't hide genocide under that shit.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather see black women have free healthcare, good schools, the right to vote, not endorse a genocide. Yeah. I'd rather millions of black women thrive than the one. But yes, I mean, I know that. I know you also, but I also hate that thing, because then it has nothing to do with policy. But yeah, I think you're right. They are all very much swayed by the fact that as soon as she dropped out, as soon as Biden dropped out, Democrats raised $50 million. Then as soon as it was Kamala, she became the largest 24-hour raise in presidential history with $81 million in one day. And then after she really proved herself and got all the endorsements, we're at 200. I think it's actually now at 250, $250 million. Which so tells you all you need to know.
It's a lot. It's not, I don't want to diminish that, but there are factors that make it kind of a fake front too, because look, this nexus was coming for a while. People saw Biden was in the shitter. Right. So all the big donors are like, why bribe Biden? Right. He's out. He's not going to win. My bribe is fucking useless. Yeah. So they held back, and now you have an opportunity to put some enthusiasm out there. You do have a actual enthusiasm by some people for the first woman, the first black woman, all that stuff. That's all real. I'm not saying it's not real. And it's the first opportunity. But let's see a month from now, after she's actually spoken to the public, how people remember how bad she is at politics. I'm just saying this enthusiasm now was going to be baked into replacing Biden with anyone. Right. And then you have other factors, and you have her also being in politics and being politically calculating and planning for this moment forever. Because literally the moment as soon as she announced, there was a bombardment of strategically reclaiming everything negative about Kamala as a positive, and the press was 100% in sync. They're like, she's so brilliant because all these memes online are great. Look at her cackling. It's great now. The cackling is now great.
Sparkles all over.
Here's the bus now. Is now the dancing around, not taking life seriously when there's a fucking genocide stuff is all amazing now. Yeah. This was all planned and all the buy-in. And there were even tons of videos by black, I don't know, big accounts online who are explaining the history of, I had always heard that she had deported 20,000 people, or she had arrested 20,000 people for marijuana convictions. But then I looked into it, bro. Yeah. And it was not that big a deal, because look, it was only 1,700. And then, they only actually prosecuted. So, but that was all planned. These guys didn't research this the day she became the nominee and put out this video explaining all that.
Well, and what's interesting is the K-Hive, the former K-Hive, the bullies online who were worse than, I mean, any Bernie bro account, were not for allowing or not for pushing Biden to resign. And on some level, they've been a little absent here. There's a different group that's also AstroTurf that's doing exactly what you're saying. But like, it is interesting to see, because we all knew that her support wasn't organic. It was all paid for. It was like the David Brock school of, right? I feel like we should show the Tulsi thing. It was the last time I liked Tulsi, but it's also what ended Kamala's run in 2019. And just to set it up, calling out the former California Attorney General on issues that people took with her for corruption, improper actions, mishandling, or ignoring evidence had been on people's radar for a full year before this debate. Or, okay, I might be it might have been 7 months. More than 30 seconds. So if you are wanting to run to be the leader of the free world and you know this attack is coming, you might want to prep yourself for the debate. Instead, this is what happened.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response?
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response?
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Can we get on to Tulsi?
Yeah,
How do
sorry.
I
know. I was looking at people's
Tulsi's
comments and I realized that, she's horrible. That was the last good thing that she did, but it was effective and it was absolutely true. Kimmy, thank you.
Thank you, Kimmy.
Awesome. Yeah.
But the other thing I noticed about that is, like, Tulsi had not been very aggressive and didn't have massive support.
Right.
But as soon as she said that about Kamala, the whole crowd was like, fuck yeah, because they hated fucking Kamala.
Hated her. She has the negatives. She doesn't right now. But before Biden stepped down, she had the second highest negatives other than Biden. Like, the right is going to be so enthusiastically voting against her. Yep.
But now what's going to happen, and this is where we're fucked on the left, is she's going to run tough on crime. She's going to run as like, I was the border tough person. I
she
tried to
is
do all this
embracing it now.
tough
Top
shit
cop
on the border.
Yeah.
Top cop. Look at me.
Yeah.
I prosecute criminals, you know.
I mean,
and
that's
you're
part
a
of the
criminal,
thing.
Trump.
Yeah.
So
the prosecutor versus the felon. That's part of her thing now.
yeah.
Dems are tough on crime. They fund cops, and yeah.
So as a progressive, we need to lean hard on telling people she is not progressive at all. She doesn't represent the progressive wing. We fucking have hated her forever. Look at her record. She refused to process Steve Mnuchin, the dirtbag Treasury Secretary for Trump, when her whole path, you know,
the housing scam, the bubble, yeah.
Yeah, but at her level, people present you with the case. You don't do the work. They're just like, here's the case. We built a whole case against Steve Mnuchin, prosecute him. They all wanted him prosecuted, and they had all the evidence that he would have been guilty as fuck. And she said no.
Yep.
And of
Same
course,
with
he
Catholic
was
priests
campaign.
Yep. Catholic priests who were pederasts. Yep. Exactly. Doug,
there are so many stories.
She was awesome. Yeah.
There are so many stories that will come out about Kamala that are not going to play well, but she's going to lean so far right that it might work to, you know, but we're fucked as progressives because of Kamala. Like, it's not like she's going to abandon leftist stuff. So people pretending she's better on Palestine as some leftist viewpoint, she is not.
She's not better on Palestine. She's reaffirming her support. She hosted Sheryl Sandberg and that, you know, atrocity porn propaganda about mass Hamas rapes, which has been debunked time and again and was only used to try to justify a genocide, which even if it had happened, as horrific as that would have been, still wouldn't justify a genocide. But she's continuing with that.
Right. But if you were to script like where we are at this moment in time,
right,
because the public is so against where Biden is, you have to go a little bit left of where he is.
Right.
So she perfectly represents sort of like this sort of appeasement to the public of like, oh, well, we don't have to worry about that now because Kamala's in there who's a little more left on this stuff.
It'll be a more gentle genocide.
Which is the only thing but that's the only, this
smaller,
is where it's almost
like
nuke. But it's almost like, you know, replacing Trump. It's like, because you got somebody over there that's a little bit better on it, everybody just ignores it now.
Yep.
And
yeah, okay.
It's worse than having somebody that was still aggressively pro-Palestine is what I'm saying in a way, because the press won't report on it. It's just,
they're just so happy to be done with Biden and somebody
seen this
young
move so many times.
I mean, somebody young, which I don't care if the person's young. Like, I hate when people say that. It is such a obfuscation of the things that we actually care about. I don't care. I don't care about somebody young or old. Honestly, I know I've said this before. Like, when I loved Bernie, I would have voted for him in a coma because his policies were being supported by the people around him when he was in the hospital after he had his heart attack. He could send out 10 different people to go around the country to huge rallies because the policies, it wasn't about him. It was about the policies, right? What is it? Why were people so in love with Biden? Why? Why do they love Kamala? What's she stand for? She's young? Okay, who cares? What does she stand for? Nothing. I don't know what her vision is. Like, she's
she has
no
vision.
About Roe. Yeah, why?
The craziest thing to hear from all these pundits on TV is how they're really spinning this thing that she's so likable in person and off the cuff, she's wonderful. And like, they're setting her up to fail with that bullshit. Unless you can, like, how tightly you control this campaign, I don't know. You might just, maybe they can avoid like having her in front of the public, having all the flops she did, but she never meets the moment with the right seriousness, and it rubs people wrong every fucking time.
100%. And by the way, like, these are initial polls and it might change next week, but like, yes, she got a lot of money, and ask yourself why. These same people wanted her to be president in 2019. She was the next Obama. She was going to be the female Obama. They put her on the cover of every magazine. She had tons of elite capitalist support. That's why she's raised $250 million since Sunday. Like, That is absurd.
I mean, look, I'm not the wisest man, but in 2018, my stupid fucking parody account wrote a book calling her the Democratic Rising Star because they never used to say her name without putting that in front of it because they were promoting her and branding her fucking 6 years ago for this position. It was so goddamn obvious.
And it's not because of her policies. I mean, or it is. It's because she lacks them and she'll do exactly what her donors tell her to do. That's why. They would not do that if it were Bernie or Andy Bashir and
ball for power.
She will do everything. And I know you're going for that double entendre. I'm not going to go there. Let's just see how she's doing because it still isn't great. So this is the initial polls. General election doesn't matter. So take it with an enormous grain of salt. Trump up 5 in the general. Adding in Kennedy puts Trump up 6. We are not even going to cover today the leaked call where apparently RFK Jr. says, I would need a cabinet position. Yeah, in exchange for dropping out and endorsing you. But anyway, whatever. But this is young people. Here's the young people, the youth vote.
Yeah.
Trump 58 to Kamala 39. So your younger political avatar is not swaying the voters.
And that's the narrative is that look, and there's some truth to all these narratives, you know, like you can spin these things a million ways. And in a way, the whole campaign has been about age because, you know, sorry, I got a cat in front of me right now. Got to move my keyboard before she pushes some weird buttons. But they did frame all this about age. So that's going to, now that you got somebody younger, now you're left with Trump having to defend his age where he was on the attack about the age.
Right.
But her record is not like, the more you see a Kamala, the worse you like her. She's the Hillary. It's the same MO because you put her in front of the public.
Hillary can at least, I mean, she doesn't even have any depth to her. She's totally empty.
She is worse.
Yeah.
And she has less knowledge of policy and not like she is. I don't want to go to things Dan that Quayle. I can't verify and prove to people, but like my mom was a judge. I worked with, I know lots of people who worked with Kamala as AG.
Right.
And the narrative on her is that she's just lazy. And I know that's a trope. I don't want to use that trope in a way that's racist at all.
She doesn't prepare.
But she doesn't do the work. She's not informed on the policies. And that shows because she laughs her way through all these things. You grill her and trap her in a corner and she tells you some shit about coconut trees and laughs, you know, and it's people don't like it. And that's proven.
And young people are actually the best informed and the most direly that's not even a word.
The least trusting
are most like desperately in need of the policies that they know about. Like they don't like her. This and then I think it was the runs. Yes, of course, we do have the swing states where she also like because again, the general election doesn't matter. California and New York kind of negate a bunch of stuff, even though Biden is kind of pushed.
He put New York in play. I think that was the actual tipping point. When New York was in play, it's like, what are we doing here, people?
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, Wisconsin, Trump's up 10, Pennsylvania up 14. I think these are numbers even worse than Biden, but I need to do a side by side. Michigan, Trump up by 6, Nevada up by 30, Georgia, Trump's up by 34, and Arizona up by 32.
Yeah.
So,
and that's great. The problem. That's the ultimate problem is we haven't gotten away from people are voting against somebody. And if you're voting against Biden, you are still voting against Kamala.
Right.
So that, you know, the voting for has shifted in non-swing states, but in the swing states, it's stayed the same. The swing states didn't like Biden and they don't like her because she's the VP. And then you add in a twinge of like, some people are racist. They don't like a black person. and then some people are misogynist. So you got that, and that's going to be countered by, you know, you do have Republicans who are like, I don't like the misogyny of Trump and Vance, and you know, but that stuff's a wash. You could be a leftist actually appealing to the policies that these independents fucking love, but we're not going to do that with her. She's going to try to be just as right as this guy on most issues that independents are going to vote on, because they think, I mean, look, they don't actually think that's the way to win, but they know they can't go left. Like, it's untenable. Donor money will stop flowing.
Right. Well, yeah. And you're right. And the other thing is, she is, you know, wildly underqualified. She lacks knowledge. She doesn't prepare her. She has tons of changeover in staff, lots of upheaval in her, you know, midst of her, with her staff and all of the people who are supposed to prepare her, who are frustrated that she doesn't put in the work. And what she's going to do, which is the same thing Hillary did, which is try to claim the experience. Well, Hillary did it. I was trying to claim that she has experience because she was first lady for 8 years, but then distancing herself from the policies that, well, that was my husband. I'm not my husband. You're voting for me. Like, so I know that's exactly what's going to happen. She's going to be like, no, I was vice president for almost 4 years. Of course I'm experienced enough. And then have just enough barrier where she doesn't have to claim all of the horrific policies, but she does. She has to claim them.
Well, and exactly that. I mean, that is the way they're going to try to spin things. But at the end of the day, people on the right demonized her as equivalent to Biden. Like, so you can't unpack that from people who don't like you.
Right.
Like, you can't. And then, but they're still going to try to appeal to those people by saying, look, Biden deported more people than Trump did. So how does that help us on the left when she's going to lean into, you know, because they're labeling her on the right as the abortion. I mean, not the abortion, as the border czar, which is pretty much accurate. I mean, it's technically not accurate because there's another division in the government that handles deportations and all that stuff. But Biden, his first job was like, your number one job is the border, which was hanging her out to dry. I just want to say, but now she's going to run on being tough on it. Like, I was so hard on the border and you guys wouldn't let me be harder, Republicans.
We tried that fascist border bill and you guys wouldn't vote for it. We tried it. Yeah. No, she's vile. I just want to make sure we thank Reflect the Sun, Punch Up Pod memberships. Thank you.
Getting attacked by a cat. Stop it.
Strike says hi also. All right. Do we have anything else on? Oh, well, the VPs. Oh my God. I mean, this goes on forever. I mean,
the VPs, look at all these VPs.
Yeah. It's not going to be a woman, even though I saw somebody say Nina Turner. That'd be so awesome. Except that, like, it wouldn't really matter. They're never going to let somebody who actually believes in real policies get that.
I personally have decided it's either Shapiro or Buttigieg. That's my guess.
Yeah.
The reason I said this online, but I think it might actually be Buttigieg, because a lot of times when you see those lists online, I mean, on the news, they're not showing Buttigieg or they're downplaying him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which they always want to have this moment where they say, oh my God, we didn't see this coming. What a great pick. She picked him. Wow.
Yeah. So innovative.
Even though obviously he's Buttigieg career-wise has already been rewarded for his failing up, but he backed up. He backed out, and you know,
she's the border czar and he's the transportation czar, and it's all going so well. Delta's canceled more flights in the last 5 days than, like, I think 2 or 3 years worth. It's hilarious. I could see it being Buttigieg, but I also feel like there might be enough conservative feeling in the Democratic Party that they're going to want a straight white guy who supports genocide, which would be Josh Shapiro, although he's Jewish, so maybe that's a problem, but he does, like, he's full on Zionist.
Yeah. So. I mean, if I had to say one way or another and bet my own personal money, I'm going with Shapiro right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's 60-40, and the way the press has reacted to Buttigieg makes me think they're like trying it at least.
Yeah.
And his moments recently,
they love it.
With the press have been brilliant. I mean, they're good. They're good.
Yeah.
He says the right shit.
Yeah. He is Obama. Like he doesn't have the same like charisma, but he has that same. He knows how to turn a phrase. He knows how to turn it on its head. He goes on Fox and he does a really good job without getting like bristly and shitty, but just handle like he's good. Yeah. I mean, he's awful.
But in that same respect, that is the stuff that she's so bad at, which is why, like, as much as Shapiro brings the shitty views to the table that they love, and the votes from the states or whatever, like the electoral map makes sense to pick him more than Buttigieg. She needs somebody aggressively out there making the case better than she can, because she won't make the case very well. She could read a telecom prompter, but that's the end game. So that's why I think it's still a coin toss between those two, roughly.
Yeah, same. It's interesting that both she and Buttigieg had Marxist parents who are wildly disappointed in their children. It's the whole what was the Alex P. Keaton Family Ties deal. All right. I mean, we have a couple more videos with Kamala, but like, I don't know what do you mean,
6:30. Let's do this thing here.
Yeah, for sure. Because oh my God, we haven't drunk enough. Yeah, baby. I mean, I've had enough shots.
Lila for the win.
All right,
you're back. You're back.
I'm back. I am back. Okay, I'm closing it and spinning again while I pour my shot. 1 second. It's a lot of hats. Yeah, baby. Oh, okay. I'm making mine a double. Okay, that's right. Get it all going. One more, and then if I land on it again, I'll remove that.
Lila.
Okay, I'm removing that one. I'm taking.
It was funny until the last one. The last one was too much.
I know. Now it's like my eyes. Okay, I can barely even see. I'm spinning.
Yeah, baby.
I'm gonna cut your feed. How do I make you freeze?
Okay, wait. I'm removing that one too.
Yeah, baby.
Oh my God. No way. Okay. Timeline cleanse. It's all you. Timeline cleanse. You do it.
Okay. Well, let's do it.
Well, he was shot in the head by a Republican with an AR-15. Democrats tried to ban. It was just back in May. The bill lost by one vote. Feel bad for his wife and his daughters. Oh, they'll get over it. The Japanese did. That's what Corey Comfort said about men, women, and their kids in Gaza. They'll get over it. That's what he said. He gave his life to save his kids and his wife. It's a shame, it's a crime, he didn't deserve to die. I wonder, can you extend the same empathy to the children being bombed right now as we speak? They'll get over it. The Japanese did. That's what Corey Comfort said about men and women and their kids in Gaza. They'll get over it. That's what he said. They'll get over it. The Japanese did. That's what Corey Comfort said about men and women and their kids in Gaza. They'll get over it. That's what he said.
Okay, we should have set that up better. That is J-Man, and by we I mean you, Pat. You pushed the button so fast while I was drinking my free shot.
Hey,
I'm like,
nice spinning, Lila. Shut the hell up. Come on.
And then I'm seeing, yes, that was Nancy Reagan's. Was that the Secret Service name for her? No, kidding. But yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to set it up? So this was about the guy that got shot at the Trump rally.
Yeah. I'm joking.
I just asked you if you could do it, but
I said, yeah, go ahead. Corey Comfort.
It's about the guy, Corey, who tragic loss of life. I don't want to cheer when anyone dies, but I also don't want to lionize the guy who died just because he died. He's got terrible views. You're rooting for Palestinians to just get over it like the Japanese did. Like,
After we dropped
That
two
felt like
bombs.
karma. That felt like karma. That bullet was karma. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't believe in karma, but I'm cheering for it.
I mean, it's such a disgusting response to the decimation of a whole people, or the attempted decimation and the slaughtering of tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands. Yeah. So he was awful. That's J-Man, who I think he says he does a song a day, 16 years in a row now. So we gotta dig.
We need to get him on.
I know. We definitely
need to have like a medley show, like one of those old school shows where we just have a bunch of fun.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I know.
Right.
We're always trying to have fun, but life gets in the way.
It's so hard to have fun as a leftist.
It is really hard.
I mean,
okay, so here we are. Okay. So we don't have a ton on Israel, except for the fact that a war criminal was invited to Congress today and got a standing ovation. Netanyahu was welcomed into our Congress after the ICJ ruling. And I mean, after what we've all been seeing on our phones play out over the last 9 months, 80 years, but 9 months of a genocide, official rulings continue to happen. And we invite him here and he gets a standing ovation. It is so vile. The only good thing is that last night, apparently at his hotel at the Watergate, the young, the young Palestinian movement, I'm getting the acronym wrong because of my 6 shots and 2 glasses of wine. They put maggots on the table of his room and I think kept pulling the fire alarm. What did they do? Wait, I'm about to put on my. Yeah, maggots released on his table. That's we didn't get the moving one, but that is moving. Yeah, and they kept pulling the fire alarm so they wouldn't be well rested for today's travesty.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, I mean we all know where we stand on him, but like Netanyahu, but to follow the ICJ ruling, which the U.S. has told the whole world, the ICJ, the most important thing in the world, rules-based order, you know, this is what matters, and we've controlled the ICJ. But the ICJ, our own creation, has said this is a genocide. This guy needs to be punished. No country should support Israel. All funding
warrant for his arrest.
Yeah, warrant for his arrest. All funding needs to cease immediately. And we are like, hey, come talk to our
Congress, which whatever we think about the asshats in Congress, which I think we're probably all on the same page, it is still an enormous,
privilege or honor in the world.
Honor. Yeah. So just because I do think it's important, and it got swept under the rug. This came out a week ago, and the U.S. has completely ignored it. This is the ICJ.
These are the bullet point findings of the ICJ.
The highest international court. Like these findings are enormous. They speak to the whole world. And the fact that we're just ignoring it and then, giving this honor to the leader of Israel as he commits genocide is just vile beyond belief. The ICJ is of the opinion that the state of Israel's continued presence in the occupied Palestinian territory is unlawful. The state of Israel is under an obligation to bring an end to its unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory as rapidly as possible. The state of Israel is under an obligation to cease immediately all new settlement activities, which they've only expanded.
Increased immediately as retaliation for this finding.
Right. Evacuate all settlers from the occupied Palestinian territory. State of Israel has the obligation to make reparation for the damage caused to all the natural or legal persons concerned in the occupied territory. not to recognize as legal the situation arising from the unlawful presence in the state of Israel in the occupied territory, not to render aid or assistance in maintaining the situation created by the continued presence. I mean, basically, they're saying that okay, sorry. I have one more and I had to stop. It is of the opinion that the United Nations, especially the General Assembly, which requested this opinion, and the Security Council should consider the precise modalities and further action required to bring an end as rapidly as possible to the unlawful presence of the State of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory. That was a week ago. And the only thing that has happened is that Israel's parliament passed a resolution opposing Palestinian statehood. 68 Knesset members, only opposed by 9 of them, which were all Arab parties. So much for liberal Zionists.
Yeah, and all of this goes to the UN for enforcement purposes, but the world has this ruling regardless of what the UN decides to do. And the world is in their rights to arrest Netanyahu immediately should he come near them.
Yep.
And for us to just then, within the same week of this ruling, put him in front of our Congress people is just the most disgusting, disgraceful thing. Like, when people hate America, this is why they hate America, right?
I thought it's for our freedoms.
Right. And they're right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's for our freedoms. I mean, you know, I'm gonna forget his name now. Amr, the comedian who's so good. We've clipped so many of his
sorry.
I know, terrible, my brain. But you know, when he was talking about like young people discovering Osama bin Laden's statement, the manifesto on why he bombed, you know, why he wanted those planes to be flown into the Twin Towers because of the U.S. support for Israel, and how they were with him for a day and then they immediately pulled out because they're like, what? He was a Nepo baby. You know, he was from a rich family. But I mean, you know, this has been going on for 80 years. And finally, this is momentous, saying that these settlements, this occupation is illegal, warrants out for the heads of state, for the arrest for the heads of state.
And just so you know, if you haven't followed this ruling comes from pre-October 7th shit.
Yeah, it was started.
This is not related.
Exactly.
This is not related to the current action. This is saying that the shit they were doing before October 7th, before all this genocide, before you're starving 1 million people, before you killed 40,000 fucking kids, before 140,000 or so are dead in the rubble, and you're starving them and consciously killing their entire culture, making it so there's no schools, no hospitals, no anything for these people to live in. The whole fucking country is toxic. You can't, even if these people live, how many people are going to get cancer from all this rubble and bullshit? Before all that, this is this ruling.
That's right. Which it should have been. And which, by the way, you know, there are a lot of people in our country who have been so propagandized. You know, the whole sort of Zionist push in our country, in the US, didn't really start until the 80s, after the bombing of Lebanon, which was so sickening that Israel started its Hezbollah department. Which is
the propaganda bullshit.
The propaganda department, which was because it was being televised. And even, you know, on the news, on CBS News, they were horrified by the terrorism that Israel was deploying over Lebanon. And before that, it was not necessarily tied that to be Jewish meant you had to be a Zionist. And then for the next 40 years, it was just pushed in every Sunday school. You know, like, I think a lot of people did think, well, the US wouldn't take all of these displaced people after the war, certainly not during the war, before the war. Europe wouldn't welcome them back. Where are they supposed to go? That's one thing. You could come there and not try to conquer and decimate the people who were indigenous, some of whom were Arab Jews also, right? Mizrahi Jews. But it became so tied that Zionism was Judaism for 40 years. And I think for a lot of people, it's really difficult to extricate one from the other, but it's imperative. And also to know that at the very beginning of Zionism, and even right after the war, there were Holocaust survivors, Jewish great thinkers, Einstein, Hannah Arendt, there was Primo Levi, like Holocaust survivors who said Zionism is Nazism. I didn't just survive the gas chambers to support people who are doing the same thing to Palestinians. So that has been around since the 1940s. It's time for Jews in this country to educate themselves.
Yeah, and look, it's not like this administration doesn't know that. That's why you've got Biden coming out front and center saying, I'm a Zionist, because they are pushing the propaganda. They are guilty as all hell in promoting this correlation with Zionism and safety for Jewish people, which is not
which he still says all the time, which is disgusting. Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Look how safe Jews were there.
Biden is the top promoter of this bullshit, and people supporting him are second.
Yeah. Yep. Zachariah, it was in the 80s, I think. There was like a multi-hundred millionaire who started doing the birthright trips. And that was another huge push of propaganda where anybody who's Jewish gets to go for free for this like glitzy, fun propaganda trip. And yeah, I think that started in the 80s. I have to double check, but yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And I do see all of you saying very nice things, and I really appreciate it. It's like the least hard thing in comparison to what Palestinians are going through, but it is very strange to be anti-Zionist Jew in certain places, and yet a lot of them are leading the charge with the protests. And so cheers to them for really putting their feet on the ground and doing the work.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I'm very curious to see what the UN, look, the UN process is slow. We're not going to get a UN ruling of enforcement for a long time, way before they can do anything about the situation. I mean, you could just elevate it immediately, and they should, all things considered, since 366 UN staff and family members have been killed by Israel's war.
I mean, Jesus Christ. Like
366. Like if 366 civilians were killed, like that's
by Russia, like that would be like a we do have boots on the ground there. Yeah.
If we wanted to, you could just shake America up and make a story about that to where it's like, oh, this is untenable, 366 civilians. But this is just UN people, like which are, to be a UN representative is a smallest of minorities of people in this area, and 366 of them have been killed, targeted, really. Let's be honest.
Oh, 100% targeted, just like all the hospitals and schools and mosques and safe zones. The latest thing is they have now found polio in wastewater. And by the way, those puddles that are there are filled with sewage because they have no electricity. All of their water purification and saline purification plants have been shut down. They're inoculating their own IDF soldiers for polio, but it is now made a comeback in Palestine. And yeah.
Well, but none of this is a shock. Like all the humanitarian organizations were saying, you're going to create a situation where there's disease from all the ruins and rubble, and it's inevitable. And so like for Kamala to come in now and go, whatever she's going to say that spins like, oh, we need to make sure they get polio shots or something. It's just,
if they apply, they're going to have to fill out some paperwork. It's all going to be means tested.
But all this was all seen coming like a million miles.
I mean, it was part of the plan. We're going to bring them pestilence. They're not going to have clean water.
I'm sure everybody knows this, but like the IDF is vaccinating their force, the military against polio. while all these people don't have access to polio vaccines. Like, so you just created, this is like the US, this is like America coming over to the Native Americans and giving them disease. Like, it's a way to kill them. It's going to kill them.
They're doing it every
COVID,
which way. Yeah. Yeah.
You
At the
know,
beginning, there was like a huge resurgence of COVID, obviously, people living that close. You know, the drones that are killing them are, some of them are made to shatter into like, I'm not getting millions of pieces of shrapnel. That's not millions, but like they explode into pieces of shrapnel to do the most damage. So their bodies are shredded, their limbs, you know, there's 10 amputations a day, which has probably only grown since then.
And the impact is so severe to younger people because it basically breaks your skull apart. Like the vibration and the impact of it, adults can handle the impact if you're near it because your brain, you have all this stuff, you know, built up, but younger people are most harmed by these high impact bombs that cause all this vibration. So you're wiping out, it's genocide. I mean, we know this.
I mean, yeah.
It's targeted, strategic. And
it is really very focused on children, which, you know, I have been bristling when people say women and children, because I feel like Palestinian men don't deserve to be slaughtered. And like, I don't love that distinction. And yet when you hear, and I think we'll play this doctor that just did an interview on CBS, who went to try to, you know, help in Gaza for a few weeks, but that the targeting of children, like destroying the future, just absolutely annihilating the future, is so evil. So should we just kind of show that? Yeah. Okay. So this is Dr. Mark Perlmutter. Oh gosh, now I can't see the whole name. Perlmutter, Dr. Mark Perlmutter, who is a Jewish American doctor, and I'm only saying Jewish just because, so you know, people know that it's not, you don't have to not be Jewish to see this is all happening. Who just returned from Gaza.
When were you in Gaza?
End of April for the first couple of weeks. And then there's sniper bullets. I have children that were shot twice.
Wait, you're saying that children in Gaza are being shot by snipers?
Definitively. I have 2 children that I have photographs of that were shot so perfectly in the chest I couldn't put my stethoscope over their heart more accurately, and directly on the side of the head in the same child. No toddler gets shot twice by mistake by the world's best sniper. And they're dead center shots.
In fact, more than 20 doctors recently in Gaza also told Sunday Morning about gunshot wounds to children. One American doctor told us he even reviewed CT scans to confirm what he saw because he, quote, didn't believe that this many children could be admitted to a single hospital with gunshot wounds to the head. Some shootings have been captured on video.
So, of all the disaster zones you've seen, how does Gaza compare?
All of the disasters I've seen combined, 40 mission trips, 30 years, ground zero, earthquakes, all of that combined doesn't equal the level of carnage that I saw against civilians in just my first week in Gaza.
And when you say civilians, is it mostly children?
Almost exclusively children. I've never seen that before. Never seen that. I've seen more incinerated children than I've ever seen in my entire life combined. I've seen more shredded children in just the first week.
Shredded?
Shredded.
What do you mean?
Missing body parts, being crushed by buildings, the greatest majority, or bomb explosions, the next greatest majority. We've taken shrapnel as big as my thumb out of 8-year-olds.
The UN reports that to date, more than 80% of Gaza's population has been displaced, and the majority of its buildings destroyed. a reality which has taken its own toll on the well-being of children.
What about the emotional wounds?
How can you measure that? I can't measure my own. How do you be an orphan and watching your family, melted in front of you and shredded in front of you? How do you fix that? Ever fix that?
In fact, so many Palestinian children have had family members killed that doctors created a shorthand term, WCNSF, wounded child, no surviving family.
Yeah, I'm just going back and reading a couple of things, and Stephanie, that is really powerful and awful. And listen, it's, I think you wrote that she was a survivor, and I don't even know what to say. I understand what you're feeling, and it's awful. And it's important for everybody to wake up so we don't keep doing this over and over. But boy, it's just awful. I don't really know what more to say. I do, I see in some of these protests, there are people who have numbers tattooed in their arms who are coming out and saying, I didn't survive one genocide to endorse another one. They're in their 80s. They're getting arrested. They're getting arrested for saying they want a ceasefire. I mean, this is a little different, but one of the mothers of, I think her son is still a hostage, and her husband and sister. All right, it's too awful to get it wrong, so I will find it. Sorry. I can't find it right now. Anyway, was just arrested, right? So she's getting arrested as she's demanding a ceasefire, directly impacted. Like, she is, her family is victims. She's a victim. And she's getting arrested by the Capitol Police for protesting against Netanyahu, who has used the hostages as an excuse to commit genocide and ethnic cleansing. And I don't know, it feels like the world's upside down.
Yeah. I don't want to take away from the important part is we stop the genocide. But, when I think about the impact to us in the US, this is less important because we need to stop the genocide. But ultimately, the world is going to decide that we were complicit in this. So, Israel's economy is going to take the biggest shit ever. Like, they are already,
I think a quarter of their economy has already been wiped out.
The world has decided. And so we're next. Yeah. All the talk of Biden's economy and how he did this stuff for the economy, which he didn't. I mean, he just exacerbated all the problems with the middle class. But
right.
What happens next when the world says, holy shit, you guys really funded this stuff and you're guilty. The ICJ just said we're guilty.
Yeah.
We were guilty of supporting them before this, but all the ruling recently is from the old stuff. But right. If the old stuff ruling says they're committing genocide, how do you now look at today's stuff and say you should be giving them billions of dollars in arms to kill babies and wipe out an entire civilization?
Yeah. And
Viola, I don't know where you're coming from this chat.
The only genocide,
nobody agrees with you here.
The only genocide in the last 100 years against Jews was perpetrated by white Europeans. The idea now I'm going to do a Biden.
That's a Biden.
And he has said it at least 2 or 3 times now, that this is an ancient hatred of Islam against Jews. And I mean, sure, you can say that if Jews are infidels, but then you also have to say it about Christianity, which has actually been able to
Christian
perpetrate
Palestinians have they
that.
killed
Yeah.
as well? Like,
yeah, I mean, so I really, you know, and these terrorist groups, which I think, you know, they all have different levels to them. And I think people, you know, I don't want to whitewash or like gloss over, oh, they're all just freedom fighters, because the people who actually have to live under an Islamic state, you know, probably don't feel that they're like living under freedom fighters, right? So I don't want to do some like weird glorification of people who subjugate their own people just because they also happen to be showing solidarity with Palestinians. You know, there's so many different levels. But right now, and for the last 100 years, 80 years, the people with the power, with the military, with the arms to carry out the occupation and the domination over another group of people has been Israel, with the backing of the US. And I mean, there's no refutation to that. That's just the
ICJ
is the reality.
Pointed out the reality, and the ICJ is a very pro-USA organization from the jump, and they have pointed out the reality that has been unavoidable. They have avoided ruling on this forever. The only reason this ruling came out recently is because the atrocities are so gross and disgusting and obvious that they had to do something. That's it. They didn't want to face this, you know, they didn't want to. But now they said, pre all the genocide we're seeing, pre all of that, none of this was okay.
It was already,
when you criticize people fighting back in a situation where legally they have no, you can't even try them for war crimes, because occupied people have a right to resist. Like, they have a right to resist.
Right.
What are you going to do? You lock me in prison unjustly. You say I can't fucking fish. You snipe people trying to get fish off the shore to feed fucking kids, and your snipers are shooting them. And there's less humanitarian aid coming in now than before October 7th, when they needed all massive amounts of humanitarian aid just to exist because of the oppression of fucking Israel. And now they have way less than that, and they're fucking killing everybody. I mean, how is this not fucking in your face?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to get it wrong now, or not attribute it to the proper person who said it, and I think it's probably a really famous person. And yeah, I mean, I just want to say, Viola, we don't want an echo chamber. This is a discussion, and I do think it's really important that we all hear from each other, and discuss with facts. You know, I think that's really important. Facts are important. My feeling as somebody who was raised a Zionist is that the facts support that this is genocide. And it is also those same facts that led people, even in the 1930s and 40s, fresh out of Germany and surviving the Holocaust, to condemn Zionism as fascism. So I think the evidence is really pretty clear, but I never want to silence anybody. And I think we can have these conversations, but I also think they have to be evidence-based.
Can you,
go ahead.
But along those lines, please point out any group other than something promoted by Israel who says this is all okay. Because all the humanitarian groups, all of them, literally all of them, call this a genocide. And these are groups that don't even want to speak up because they don't want to have their access cut off to provide aid. Like, their whole job is aid. We don't want to get into the politics of this, but it's so bad that they've all spoken up. All of them.
And there have been opportunities, right? There have been opportunities for ceasefires certainly in the last year, but there have been opportunities for decades to come to some sort of what initially a two-state solution, and every time it got close, Israel walked away or assassinated its leader who was pushing it, right? So I think there is no way to have a democracy in Israel that is a Jewish supremacist state. It's impossible. And so the way to do that is to make sure that the population of non-Jews is kept in check. And that's just what they've been doing, one way or the other. They are keeping that population in check. They steal people's homes, they slaughter people. And there's no chance, like, how are people supposed to fight for their freedom? You can't do it peacefully. You can't do it through negotiations. You can't appeal to the highest courts in the land, in the world. None of it will be accepted.
I just have such a problem. Like, how do you, okay, even if you see this as a group that just can't be contained because there's so much terrorist sort of thinking in their group or whatever conspires you to think they're bad people, like, they're not all bad people, right? So you can't, even if 50% were bad, well, what are the other 50 supposed to do? They can't leave, they can't eat, they can't, and now they're being pushed to just zones of murder. Like, the humanitarian zones don't even provide humanitarian access. Like, you don't get food and water in the humanitarian zones now. Like, these
you get
places
bombed.
are pushing people to.
Sorry, you get bombed in the safe zone.
You get bombed, and then they push you somewhere else, and you get bombed. You can support what you think Israel is doing here, and still look at what they're doing and say, this is not the way to do it. That, I think that is the step somebody who disagrees with me and our show should look at, because even if you agree that they should be doing this stuff, the way they've enacted this war is just atrocious. Yeah. So that should be the first step to realizing what the fuck is going on in the real world.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're diplomatic. I'm not diplomatic.
No, I'm not. I'm like, it's funny to have these conversations when I'm, there's, all right. It's 7:07. It's 7:07.
All right.
Where do we go from here?
Okay, so we have so little on COVID that, look, just COVID rates are up, they're high, it's being ignored. Please be safe out there.
Just real. Okay, I know we're switching, so we've just gone from one pestilence to the next. COVID rates are up. This is the map in green. Of course, it is spreading through the Olympics in Paris. Organizers don't seem worried by the risk, but there are plenty of hand sanitizers around, even though masks are not required. So breathe through your hands, apparently. Sadly, the Australian water polo team, which was the one we highlighted last week, who were wearing masks from the get-go, 5 of them have tested positive for COVID. It is so bad that volunteers for the Olympic, who are working to help make the Olympics, happen. Sorry, this is my brain on way too much alcohol and genocide. Is they're quitting because they're not being protected. People are not being protected, and again, like, Biden disappeared for a week. Nobody else has that privilege.
Yeah.
If it were, and I do keep thinking about, like, when people are like, oh, it's just allergies, it's just a cold. If COVID were no big deal, why wouldn't people be like, oh, it's nothing, it's just COVID? Nobody says that, right? Like, nobody's like, oh, no, it's no big deal, it's just COVID. Like, we know it is a big deal. It strips your brain. It is a vascular disease. It ruins your organs. It leads to the cascading downstream effects because your immune system is decimated.
Yeah. And so, like, I just want to point something out. Like, we're in the US. What do we care about in the US? We care about TV and movies and shit like that, right?
Right.
Lila, actress.
I totally do.
But the movies these days are mostly about money, right? And so, like, look up, I challenge you to look up, if you don't believe COVID is real, look up your favorite movie and look up behind the scenes stuff. And you'll see behind the scenes, like with The Boys, for example, one of the most popular series on TV. Behind the scenes, everybody wears masks. Everybody does. Like all these movie sets, they're all wearing masks behind the scenes because they know the risk to their economy if they fucking get some of these people wiped out. And when it hits these athletes, when you have you got athletes that their whole life is outdoor sports. The Tour de France is entirely outdoors.
Yep.
Riding a bike, and they're all masking. It's mandatory masking at the Tour de France. So ask yourself why, if they're outdoors, and we know that it is better outdoors, but if they're outdoors, you go into work in an office that doesn't have good ventilation, you think you're better off than these guys? And these are elite athletes.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like some people who have like 28 fucking pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
You know, so why don't you have those protections? Why aren't you demanding those protections? Why aren't you demanding clean air filtration? Why aren't you demanding, you know, nobody's demanding it because Biden has fucking sold, he's gaslit the whole world that this is over.
We beat COVID. And there are simpler solutions, just like we don't, I mean, well, our water is so bad now, you know, sorry. I just want to say, Viola, you don't have to leave. I don't know if you already have. We can have these discussions, and it should be okay to disagree.
Yeah. No, don't leave. I'm not. I'm not suggesting leaving, but
we just have to.
Just.
It has to be okay if we bring up facts. Like that has to be accepted if we're going to have disagreements. That facts can be used. Yeah, and I just saw, sorry, the River Seine, where we talked about a few weeks ago that there were some, because you know what happens is anytime, and it's going to happen in LA in a couple of years, that, you know, when they host the Olympics, billions of dollars get flooded into a city that has homeless people, you know, infrastructure failing, bad water, like all the things that we are all fighting for and hoping for and begging our representatives. The second it's announced that there's going to be an influx of people because of the Olympics, all of a sudden billions of dollars are made available to make this like glorious area for the people for the tourists coming and the athletes coming. And there was a group of French people who were so mad about it. And they knew that some of the initial, I think even swimming in the Seine.
No, the whole swimming was the biggest thing.
They were
because that was the purpose of the Seine.
Yeah,
were like
going to the bathroom, like going to the bathroom.
They literally pulled the Obama. They had I don't know, prime minister, I don't know who. Someone swam in the lake, like it's fine now. You know, they did the Obama thing, like it's all good now. And it,
with
you know,
logs of shit like around you.
But they did spend $1 bazillion, I don't know how much, to clean it and whatnot. So, but that proves the point of how bad things are. Like none of that would have happened otherwise. So nobody swimming in that before that should have ever swam in it because it was toxic.
Oh God. I mean, every time it rains in LA, all of our beaches are basically closed because the raw sewage overflows and goes right out into our beach. But we have no money to fix that. All right. It is late. This has been a little bit of, you know, a feisty one, but and I've said this before, I don't block people who are wanting to engage in conversation and deal with difficult topics.
Same.
Yeah. So
if if it's a good faith discussion, let's have it. That's how I feel. But what if you have a coconut in the palm tree? We're not gonna have a good faith discussion.
Am definitely not coconut pilled.
If you don't, I mean, we'll talk about it. But
yeah, and I like feisty. We should all be able to have discussions and present evidence and hear each other's thoughts and evidence and be open to changing minds. Like, I used to love Obama. I was a vote blue no matter who. I used to think that everybody hated Israel just because they were Jews. Like, that's how I was brought up. Like, that's what I thought. And then I started, being presented with more information. And so we all need to just be open to that.
I used to think if you worked hard in life, you got ahead. So.
I used to think Democrats were the good guys. I used to think I was going to be a movie star when I was 18.
I think we all thought the Democrats were the good guys at some point. You have to, if you go farther left than the Democrats, you had that view at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I know. We all did. Thank you. I'm just looking because I see my husband finally weighing in. Yeah. That's actually not true. Throw it away.
Throw it away.
Throw it away. I'm a big throwaway. All right. We love you guys. Listen, a lot of people got out there and stood up for democracy, and in spite of our shitty government and disgusting invitation to war criminal, genocidal maniac Netanyahu, put their bodies on the line. So cheers to these protesters, and cheers to all of you for hanging out with us. We will see you on Sunday. Keep punching up.
Cheers.
Cheers. I need to.